Hello everyone and welcome to SunUp. I'm Lyndall Stout. The wheat is really taking off and of course it is spring green up, meaning many cattle producers are eager to turn their cattle out on pasture for the year. But as OSU Extension beef cattle specialist Dr. Dave Lalman tells us, that may not be the best idea, at least for now. Here's Dave with SunUp's Curtis Hare.
So Dave, for a lot of producers out there, that's obviously pretty exciting to turn cattle out on there. But for spring calving operations, that might not be the best idea. So what do you have for us?
Well, I was just thinking about, the transition period here, and we have more and more people all the time adopting reproductive technology, artificial insemination, synchronization, and so on. And it turns out the timing of drastic changes in cattle's diet with that technology, if you're going to AI a set of heifers or immature cows, that timing can be critical. And so we just wanted to let producers be aware of that and think about what they might be able to do to minimize any negative impacts.
Before we get into how producers can manage this, first let's kind of really just address the issue. So what is the issue and what can happen?
Well, anytime when artificial insemination occurs at about the same time as a radical diet change, the literature research shows that you can expect a reduction in that first time conception rate.
And it's pretty obvious, like with the green up like here, that's a drastic change in an animal's diet.
I mean, it is if they're going from, let's say, a native pasture with very little green in it to over a period of a week or two to lush green, or you have a cattle in a sacrifice pasture or a dry lot where you're feeding hay and a little bit of supplement, and then you turn them out on a really lush pasture. That is a radical change in their diet.
So it just kind of, just as you're talking about this, I just imagine one of the main kind of management strategies is just timing, right? Oh
yeah, I mean, for sure. And it's not going to be a problem for a lot of people that, where green up occurs earlier. And let's just take an example from a calendar standpoint, Curtis. If, let's say, you intend to breed your cows to calve about March 15th, and you intend to breed your heifers around 2 weeks ahead of the cows so they can get more attention at calving time. That means that if you're going to calve your heifers around March 1st, the AI or start of the breeding season needs to happen about May 23rd. Okay, and so we think that, and the literature indicates that adaptation to lush pasture needs to start about 45 days ahead of that, which is April the 8th.
Well, and with these warmer days that we're getting so early, it's not even spring yet, this green up's going to happen a lot sooner.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a lot of this early, annual forage growth that greens up a little bit, but those perennial forages, the warm season perennial forages, will be a while coming on.
Obviously, there's some producers who you might just hold their cattle as well, right?
Yeah, access to the animal handling facilities is critical, of course, for synchronization and artificial insemination, because the cattle have to come through those facilities several times. And so if someone were to do that, and in our May 23rd example for breeding, if they hold them until then, there's probably going to be a pretty drastic change if they're held on hay and supplement, for example, in the dry lot. The idea, though, would be just to try to create a scenario where you either can turn the cattle out on pasture about 45 days ahead of AI to give them time to adapt, or make that change gradual. So maybe turn them out on a little bit bigger pasture where they can pick at some of that annual forage coming through and gradually reduce the supplementation rate, something like that. Another thing we know for sure, Curtis, and that is there's a time period, usually every spring, where you don't have very much forage availability, and the cattle are picking at the green stuff and ignoring what they've been eating all winter long and actually losing weight.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that that's not occurring, because that will definitely negatively impact, if that happens right ahead of artificial insemination, could reduce your conception rate also.
Obviously, producers can go into their local county extension office for guidance as well, right?
Yeah, sure, and help the extension educators can help them with their supplementation program, keeping the hay out a little bit longer, so they have the option, if they do run out of foraged dry matter, they can go consume a little bit more hay and keep them from losing weight right ahead of that critical time period.
All right, thanks, Dave. Dr. Dave Lalman, OSU Extension beef cattle specialist here at Oklahoma State University.